Obviously, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'd love to see him.
It's almost like legacy of like the NFL versus.
But I definitely think that Baker could be a really good player for the Panthers moving forward.
Did I say Oreos?
There's a lot of questions I have about Mahomes. Looks like a kid playing Madden.
Turning point in the game is the 13-second drive.
They play very hard, even though they're terrible.
He's a good pick. For sure. He's going to be a good player. But I can't argue against the Jamar Chase pick.
They made moves saying we're going to win this year, at least get into the playoffs.
I'm going with my guy, Corey Seager. So glad.
What's good, y'all? My name is Austin Jarman, and I play rugby for the University of Notre Dame. And you're listening to The Outsider's Opinion with Austin and Kevin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. This is another video, and possibly coming out another day. If you listen to the first video, this happened by accident. It's usually intended to be one. If you didn't listen, go check this out. This is 16-1, and this is where I would say the big conversation that happened.
Yeah. It is overarching throughout all the episode, but you were definitely correct. It is here that is really made apparent that this is what happened, and I am kind of shocked it did take us this long to talk about it. But again, like I said in the last one, it was quality content, like you said. It always is, and we did our best. We have our disagreements. Let us know in the comments what you thought about having it in a two-parter. Do you like it like this? Is this better in two parts, or would you like it more in one? Is that easier for y'all?
Yeah, and I will say this now keeps our record of the longest video being once an hour and 20, an MLB video done.
Yeah, it was a long one. It was a long one.
So this is 16-1, and let us know what you think, and thank you for listening enjoy the show. So my 16 at Kirk Cousins. Even with the injury, I would take him over Russell Wilson. He did play really well with the Vikings, even without Justin Jefferson before the injury. So to me, he is a quality guy. It's just kind of those upper tier moments that I question him. Can he make those passes? And there are moments where he did do that, but the guys above him, to me, I trust more to make that than Kirk Cousins, including his injury this past season.
Yeah, the injury is practically the only reason why he fell so far on mine. So I understand that part. I'm not really worried about his decision making in big moments. It's more the fact that I'm worried that he's not going to be able to throw the ball far down the field this year. My number 16 is Baker Mayfield. He's the first person in my above average. He had a great season last year, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks, and led Tampa to a playoff victory and was very close to also beating the Lions. It's really interesting because Baker's the guy that almost fell out completely of the league and then becomes a Pro Bowler, comeback player of the year candidate, and leads Tampa to the playoffs. So I was extremely impressed by what Baker did last year, and I do think he's an above-average quarterback. Not many players can go to a new situation, a team that was below 500 the year before, really searching for themselves and become a playoff team.
And that was your 16?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go into your 15?
Yeah. My 15 is Trevor Lawrence. He fell 7 spots. The collapse that was the end of last season for the Jaguars was one of the most disheartening things I've witnessed. I am not a fan of the Jaguars, but I do kind of wonder why this happened. He had 21 touchdowns and 14 picks. Just a poor year. His passer rating was 88.5, which is extremely poor. And I'm concerned. I still have him in the above average category, and I do think he can find it. It's just going to have to take a better season from him.
Yeah, I am a little bit concerned about Trevor Lawrence. I thought he was such a great pick, and I'll get to him a little bit. There's still some hope for me, which is shown in my ranking, but 15 to me is a guy that I've had higher than you, and that's Matthew Stafford. He's that guy where he can make them some throws. You do bring up the interceptions. I think there's a give and take. He struggled at the end with the Super Bowl run in the regular season, and then I think he kind of showed what can be seen from him. However, that is rare now because of his injury and just his age. But I still trust in him, and I have more faith in him than Kirk and Russell Wilson. So that is who I have at 15.
Okay, who's your 14?
My 14 is Geno Smith. He did take care of the ball more than Stafford, so that gave him an edge. And he's, to me, a very good guy. He had a better completion percentage than Stafford. I think he is above average. He can make some incredible deep throws. It was a down year for him compared to what he did the previous year when he was the first starter with the Seahawks. So he's 14. And then who's your 14?
My 14 is Kyler Murray, a guy that I have significantly higher than you. I still believe in him. He went up 6 spots from last year. Mainly, I had him at 20 last year because he was going to miss a lot of games, but that's not going to be the case this year. I do think with Marvin Harrison Jr. and a good tight end in Trey McBride that he could perform well. I still trust him as a above average QB, and I think he'll play well this year.
All right. Now my 13, which I might steal the thunder from you because is it your turn?
Technically, but you can go.
Okay. Is Trevor Lawrence. So he had 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. His rookie year, he had double-digit interceptions, but the year 2022, he only had 8 interceptions and 25 touchdowns. I think this year looks more like that compared to last year. I think he's still young and growing, and I believe he is less interceptions, less fumbles than what was shown last year. So he's my 13.
Okay. My 13 is Dak. I still need to see it. This is always going to be how it is. You're always going to disagree like this. I'm shocked by some of the players you have. You can be shocked at this if you like.
The funny thing is, I don't consider myself a Dak lover. I would say I'm probably in the Dak hater part, but I still have.
Okay, you're not a Dak hater. We can jump off that. You don't necessarily need to call yourself a Dak lover. I won't call you that, but you're definitely not a Dak hater.
I would say I would rather have other quarterbacks.
I don't think that doesn't mean you're a Dak hater though. To say you'd rather have another quarterback is just admitting that he's not the best, sure, but it's not necessarily saying you're hating him. Hating him would want him to trade him no matter what or get rid of him no matter what happened. That's hate.
Kind of at that point. I'd like to see what he does not in the Cowboys offense. And also what the Cowboys could do. But yeah, I interrupted.
It's all good. He stayed at the same spot. I had him 13 last year. He stayed at 13. He's still above average. I still think he's a good quarterback. It just needs to be the right situation. And I really like everybody that's above him. I couldn't move him up any higher. I moved him up as high. The only spot that could be argued is the spot. He could, if I was given the best argument ever, move him up 2 more spots, but he could not go above 11. But who is your 13?
Well, my 13 is Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, who's your 12 then?
My 12 is Jared Goff. He had an incredible year last year. I think that's his best year. I don't really believe in him much. I think he was a byproduct of the Lions, and he did have 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, had a 67.3 completion percentage, second in yards. I don't see him replicating that season again. To me, he is above average. He can make some throws, but I trust the other guys above him more.
What's the difference in the passing offense between Dak and the Lions? Like it's Amon-Ra / CD, and who's the other wide receiver? Who's
Brandon
the other
Cook or Michael Gallup?
Well, I'm saying for the Lions.
Jameson Williams.
He played like 6 games.
They also have they had Sam Laporta last year.
Sure, you can give him a rookie tight end. I think he made Sam Laporta better. It's hard for a rookie tight end to kind of jump onto the scene like Laporta did.
And the thing is, Dak has done it consistently.
What,
Jared
in the
Goff
playoffs?
did not do well. Jared Goff didn't play that well in the playoffs compared to Dak.
He played better than
did have a
Dak?
bad year.
Significantly better than Dak in the playoffs.
I still trust Dak has that dual threat ability. I don't see that with Jared Goff. He's more of a pocket passer. He needs a good O-line.
And Dak hasn't had one of the best offensive lines of all time.
They were not great last year. They dealt with injuries. They left guard was a spot because you would either put Tyler Smith,
who was I've seen a lot ranked as a top 5 guard this upcoming year.
Well, yeah, but then do you put him at left tackle because Tyron Smith was always injured?
Tyron Smith played like 13 or 14 games.
But he still missed some games. He was always dealing with injury. And Terrence Steele struggled coming back from that injury. You still have Zach Martin, but the offensive line, I think, has deteriorated a lot with the Cowboys. It's not what it was when Dak was incredible. Dak is a very good quarterback. I think he's above average. The problem is I don't trust him in the playoffs, but I also don't trust Jared Goff in the playoffs.
Jared Goff has proven to me that he can win games come playoff time.
I would say Dak had a terrible playoff game, but he has played well in other playoff games. He played amazing in the Tampa Bay Bucks game.
Sure, I'll get sure.
Also, there's the Seahawks game in the wild card years ago. That's what you can mention with Jared Goff. What other time was it when they went to the Super Bowl? That's years ago.
How many playoff games has Dak won in his career? 2?
Yeah.
Okay, Jared Goff won 2 playoff games in one season multiple times.
I think he had a fantastic head coach. He had a fantastic defense, incredible defensive presence with Aaron Donald. To me, an offensive coordinator or a head coach can help benefit the quarterback much more because they know what their quarterback is. Sean McVay dumped Jared Goff. He did not want to work with him anymore. He chose Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff. We haven't seen that with Mike McCarthy yet.
I think it's more because of the Cowboys' complacency than a problem with Goff. It's kind of like if you try the same thing over and over again, it's insanity, right? So I don't know. It's the bar with Goff was playing bad in the Super Bowl. The bar with Dak is what? Throwing multiple pick sixes, or?
Well, you're not going to be happy because I have Dak in the top 10. So
yeah, I know. I expected it. It wasn't something that I necessarily thought was not going to happen. But we can go into your 11.
Okay, my 11 is Jordan Love. I need to see more from him. I need to see what he does this year.
Okay, I do have him higher than you. My number 11 is Aaron Rodgers. I love Rodgers, one of my favorite players ever. But Achilles injury from a player this old. It's never happened before, Kevin. I don't think you or I could accurately predict what's going to happen with Rodgers because it's never happened before. It hasn't. This is not something that you can predict, I think, effectively. If you or I is right by his ranking, I think that's more luck than anything. Would you at least agree with that we don't necessarily know?
Yeah, we don't know, but I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt.
I do have him in my capable of greatness category. So this is a new category from last time. I now have 8 categories. I added this one because I wanted less people in my elite. This is capable of greatness. These are players that can be great. And I do believe Rodgers can be great. They're definitely better than above average, but I do think they're not necessarily elite because of their potential to be inconsistent.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'll go into my number 10. Wait, what did you say?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at the Dak stats versus Jared Goff. He had less interceptions than Jared Goff. Jared Goff only had, or no,
well, playoff wins matter.
Okay, but I do think you got to look at just the entire team. The Cowboys do not play well. Dak has not played well, but I think Jared Goff has benefited from his defense, from what his coach.
Again, you're acting like a top 5 defender is not on the Cowboys right now. We're acting like that's not a fact.
Does he perform well in the playoffs? I would say no.
I would say Dak is worse in the playoffs.
I would say he's worse in the playoffs, but Micah Parsons to me does not really help in the playoffs. He doesn't.
It's really
make
hard
those
to
plays.
make a dent in the playoffs when your quarterback is throwing pick sixes and throwing multiple picks. When you're tired on the field because your quarterback keeps putting you on the field, it's kind of hard. He's a speed rusher. He's not a power rusher. He's a speed rusher. He has stamina that he has to contain. But the problem is he's always on the field because Dak either throws a picks or punts.
And I think Dak's put in more situations with the ball than Jared Goff. That's how I view it. I think
And failed in those
McCarthy trusts
situations,
Dak.
unfortunately.
Trying to think about there are game-winning drives. Trying to think. What was the Lions played who in the divisional round?
They played the
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Bucks.
Tampa Bay Bucks. I guess they may have. I think Baker threw a pick, right? That's how Lions won. Close game.
He had a game-winning drive in the playoffs. I'm trying to see which one. It was either the was it the Rams drive? No, the game-winning drive was in the Bucks game. He had a game-winning drive in the Bucks game. A game-winning drive is a drive to get the lead in the fourth quarter is what a game-winning drive was.
Okay.
And I will say that the Detroit going into the fourth quarter was down. The game was tied 17-17, and he drove to take the lead and then scored again. And then the Bucks scored, got the ball back. The Bucks got the ball back, and then yes, he threw a pick. But in those close games, he did not perform poorly. He didn't throw any picks in the playoffs last year.
Jared Goff. To me, Jared Goff's best season was last year. And
Jared Goff in the playoffs, Kevin, has thrown 2 picks in his entire playoff career. He has 8 touchdowns and 2 picks. Dak threw more than 2 picks in one game.
I would just say I don't trust Jared Goff throwing the ball. I think his coaches, I think Sean McVay shared that same sentiment. I don't think Dak gets that treatment. I would love it if he got that treatment. To me, I don't see Jared Goff repeating what he did this year. I can see Dak repeating what he did this past season. To me, that when he led the league in interceptions was an outlier.
Okay.
And Jordan Love, he was a great season. I need to see how he does it again.
Okay.
Jordan
your
Love's
rankings
my
confuse
11.
me sometimes because I don't necessarily know what you're grading because it's tough. But I'll go into my number 10. My number 10 is Tua. He stays in the same spot as last year. I had him 10 last year. I had him 10 this year. Capable of greatness. He definitely has moments though where he does struggle, but I do think that he has flashes as well where he is playing in very tough environments and doing well. He needs to be better in cold games. Yes, sure. He needs to be better in the snow, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he won major games to get the Dolphins as highly rated as they were. It does suck that how it turned out where the Bills ended up winning the division, but again, Tua led the league in yards last year, and it doesn't matter if you have Tyreek Hill. How can you hold that against a player? He led the league in yards. You can't have more than he's number 1 in yards. You can't have more than number 1. It's at what point is it Tua? You can always make the excuse that there's another guy that's the reason. And I do think Tua is a top 10 quarterback.
All right. That is your opinion. I need to see more from Tua. My rankings that is a question. Can Tua do it without Tyreek Hill? And that was a question about Mahomes. And I think Mahomes proved that.
Here's the thing about one. No, never mind. We'll come back to this here in a second. You can go.
Okay. To me, I look at how long they've been in the league. What have they done? To me, an outlier was Jared Goff. Jordan Love came onto the scene. We'll see what he does. My another guy is 10, Jalen Hurts. He had 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He's a guy that fell for me. He plays well. He struggled last year. He has that dual threat ability. I don't know what happens next year. I want to see what he does. And he's a guy that I'm still trying to figure out. He had such a great year in the Super Bowl, and then this was a down year. So he's at my 10, Jalen Hurts.
Okay. Who's your 9?
My 9 is Josh Allen. He's a guy that has fallen. I was really high on him. 29 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. He's a guy that has consistently struggled with the ball. I do have that hope for him. He can be that gunslinger. He just needs to figure out it looks like that year when he didn't throw that year in game against the Chiefs in that divisional round seems to be the outlier now. I thought that was what he was going to be. To me, he's a guy that struggles with the ball. And so that's why at 8, I chose Dak. I trust him more than I trust Josh Allen going into next season. That could change.
Wow. I'm not going to hate on I do have Josh Allen significantly higher than you, but I'm not going to hate on that. I totally understand. We've had conversations about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think having Dak above Josh Allen is an interesting take, but I'm not going to hate on your take about Josh Allen. I do have him in my top 5, but I think it's more about the fact that we get to see him without what's come to light regarding Stephon Diggs is really eye-opening. I don't necessarily know how much of a locker room cancer he is or was with the Bills. We'll have to see. Let me put it this way. If Josh Allen is the same thing as last year again, I will definitely drop him down with you. It's going to be a new situation. I get the Josh Allen distrust. My number 9 is Jalen Hurts, the guy that you had at 10. He moved down 5 spots for me. Kind of like what you said, he kind of doesn't take care of the ball, but he did have a lot of rushing touchdowns. I don't care if they're 1 yard. I don't care. You have to score a touchdown. So I don't care if it's the push. It's a touchdown. But he is the last one capable of greatness. We've seen Jalen Hurts be absolutely amazing, but also throwaway games. I'll go into my number 8. My number 8, the first guy in the elite, is Jordan Love. You mentioned like how Tua, right, has led the league in yards, but it doesn't matter because it's Tyreek Hill and all that stuff. All the wide receivers and tight ends for the Green Bay Packers were either in their rookie season or second season. Christian Watson was out for the majority of the year, who was supposed to be the best wide receiver on the team. His best wide receiver last year was probably Jaden Reed or Romeo Doubs. And both of those guys, Jaden Reed was a rookie, second-year guy for Romeo. Utterly outstanding. I have never seen a quarterback do that at all, let alone in their first year starting. I don't need to see all that. Obviously, we need to see more for his total greatness, but for him to be highly ranked, no. No one can do that, really, with that lackluster of complete wide receiver talent from tight end to wide receiver. Everyone's young. Everyone's new. None of them are first-round picks. None of them. None of the wide receivers or not worried about. All the wide receivers and tight ends are not first-round picks and also in their first or second year. That's unheard of. Unheard of. And that team made the playoffs and won a playoff game. I've been amazed by Jordan Love. I still need to see more for him to get out of the elite category to move up into the next category, which is franchise altering. But what Jordan Love did last year was utterly outstanding. And I'll always remember it no matter what happens next season, what happens the rest of his career, because I don't think there's been a quarterback ever that's dealt with that regarding wide receiver plus tight end, all receiving core being first or second year, and none of them being first-round picks.
Yeah, that is a good point about Jordan Love. I give a lot of credit to LaFleur, but can he repeat that success? That's my question with him. And we'll have to see what he does. Could he even get better? We'll have to see. And that was your 8, correct?
That was my 8, yes.
Okay. I'll let you go into 7.
My 7 is Brock Purdy. He moves up 11 spots. I do not have him in my franchise altering. He's my last guy in elite. So elite was just Jordan Love and now Brock Purdy. Again, you can say about talent and how much good coaches and players are around him, but you still have to perform. And I know they lost the Super Bowl, but what else could you expect is really the question. They go to overtime in the Super Bowl and lose. It's not like Purdy was the reason why they lost. There was other issues in that game and during the season that could have potentially gotten them in a better situation. But I do think Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback. Number 7.
He's in my above average. We're in agreement. Brock Purdy is my 7. He is the best quarterback in the NFC. He does have that, but he still makes some plays. I feel like I have to give him credit, but I want to see more from him. There were moments last year where he played well and made some game-winning drives. There is that question of he did not do well with Deebo Samuel hurt, which kind of goes into the offense and the situation. I view this as I'm taking the quarterback. I'm not taking their situation. So that's my question mark with him, but we'll have to see what he does. So that's my 7, and that's the end of my above average category.
Okay. Who's your 6?
So my 6 is Aaron Rodgers. I still give him credit. I last year didn't really have any stats. Green Bay, he had 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. But this is my elite category. I think he's an elite passer. I think he has the chance to do that. I wouldn't be shocked if he isn't, given his injury. But to me, he deserved to get credit because there is that idea that he could do that.
Okay. My number 6 is the MVP, Lamar Jackson. He moves up 1 spot from last year. I am worried about Lamar a little bit because he still doesn't produce that many touchdowns, Kevin. Last year, again, he did not get that many touchdowns. He doesn't necessarily put you. They have a good running team around him. He contributed to 29 touchdowns last year, 5 rushing, 24 passing. He did only throw 7 picks. He takes care of the ball well. He can throw the ball. And while I thought maybe Christian McCaffrey deserved MVP, I was fine with Lamar getting it. But I do still think that next season won't be the same. I don't think you're going to have this. If Lamar repeated last year, I don't think he's the MVP because I think these guys above him will be better.
Yeah. This one was difficult. I would say 3 to 6. I was pretty set on my 1 and 2. 3 to 6 was difficult for me. So Lamar Jackson is your 6.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
He's the first one in my franchise altering section.
Yeah, this is my elite section. Like, to me, they're elite passers, and there is a difference between above average. There's not many question marks with these guys, these 4 guys I have.
Okay. So who is your 5?
My 5 is Justin Herbert. I'm really high on his potential. This is a big year for him. I need to see something from this year. I know he's dealt with a lot. His team was not the greatest, and he dealt with a lot of injuries. He dealt with an injury. So I haven't seen a lot from his field, on the field, to give me enough confidence in putting him higher. But he's my 5 on here because he is such an incredible talent, and I believe he's an elite passer. It's just, this is a big year to see if he can prove that right.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about that much because we have him at the same spot. He moved down 2. I had him at 3 last year. Moves down to 5, but I still love him as a talent.
All right. Do you want to go into your 4?
Sure. My number 4 is Josh Allen. He contributes to a lot of touchdowns. He had 15 rushing touchdowns, a lot of touchdowns, but he does throw too many picks. He does lose too many big games, and it is a lot of them on him. I think this year will be different, but I've been hoping for that for a while, and I understand why you have him too low. I'm not going to be pushing for you to move him up like I have with some of the other guys. So, who is your 4?
My 4 is CJ Stroud. The reason he isn't higher, because he was incredible last year, is he was a rookie. I just want to see one more year to see if he can move up. But he 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, did such a great job. He is such a great leader, and I would understand. I'm assuming you have him at 3.
I do. What I am interested in, I know my answer for this, but what's your answer for having Jordan Love below CJ Stroud? Because Jordan Love had it with a worse receiving core, still won 1 playoff game like CJ Stroud did, and it was both of their first years starting.
I would say that is a good question. I was more confident in CJ Stroud coming out of the draft compared to Jordan Love.
So we're talking draft expectations now?
Yeah, I would say draft expectations, and I expected this kind of potential out of CJ Stroud.
So because Jordan Love is unexpected, he is moved down.
Yes. And there was no, we saw what CJ Stroud did in college. And to me, that gave me basis of kind of almost the years in NFL. To me, that gave me the basis. But he is still 4 for me. And going next year, I'm extremely confident in him, given what I saw out of college and what he did last year. Jordan Love, the expectation was not that high, and the basis for what I saw. If Jordan Love did what CJ Stroud did with Ohio State in his college year, then he would be higher just because, okay, I've seen him do something at this level. Or
I will say that
levels
what
of
Jordan Love
level.
did last year is significantly more impressive than what CJ Stroud is, in my opinion. Again, if you're talking about like guys like Tank
I
Dell
would
and
disagree.
Nico Collins,
I think
Nico Collins was
I think Matt LaFleur had an impact on that. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach. There to me is reason to believe that an offensive coordinator, offensive-minded head coach knows where to put their quarterbacks into better success situations. I think that's key. And I think Matt LaFleur did that with Jordan Love. I can be proven wrong.
you're gonna have the same opinion. There's no way to change it. As long as Matt LaFleur stays the head coach, it's impossible to change the opinion that he has a great offensive coordinator, and therefore that's why he's good.
If Jordan Love does it again, then I'll be like, okay, then I have to give credit to him then. But if we're going off 1 year, I'm picking CJ Stroud over Jordan Love and a lot of other guys over Jordan Love.
The reason why I asked Stroud higher is because of his wide receiver core. I just feel like he's going to play better next year because he has a plethora of very extremely talented guys at wide receiver and tight end with Dalton Schultz. While Jordan Love is, again, throwing to basically the same guys he did last year, just 1 year later, adding Stephon Diggs. Well, I don't know how the locker room stuff's going to work. This is really going to be a big year for him and Josh Allen to see who was really at fault the most. Even without that, you have a 1,300-yard receiver in Nico Collins. You have a guy that CJ Stroud knew in Tank Dell who's extremely, extremely talented. So the wide receiver core with CJ Stroud is the reason why I have him so high. Along with the talent, obviously.
Well, there's talent, but to me, if he had more numbers, I'll go, yes, Stephon Diggs. Jordan Love, if he puts up similar numbers, then I'll be like, it's up to him, given what you mentioned with the wide receiver.
But that's the same thing as last year.
Who do I take first? Who do I take first? Who do I take before this guy? And to me, I'm taking CJ Stroud. I trust in him more. I can trust him with the ball. I need to see what Jordan Love does. To me, you're talking about the wide receiving core. To me, that situation, it's if I take this quarterback and put him into a new situation, if I'm building a team, do I take this guy before and then this guy next?
Jordan Love definitely had the more impressive victories during the year and in the playoffs.
You may say that, but when I am looking at,
it's not an opinion. He beat the Lions and the Chiefs.
All right. Okay. So CJ Stroud's at 4 for me. Okay, so I'm curious so CJ Stroud, your 3?
He's my 3.
Okay. My 3 is a guy that I've been high on. To me, his passing has not always shown it, but I believe the potential is there. And to me, that's Lamar Jackson. 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had a better completion percentage than CJ Stroud. And this one's difficult, though. I understand having CJ Stroud at 3. I could see an argument for Herbert at 3, even Rodgers, if you wanted to do that. 3 to 6 was my questionable, and that's why
how do you level like how much touchdowns matter? Like how much do scoring touchdowns at the QB position matter? Because Lamar had 29. Again, I'll go compare to Jordan Love. Jordan Love had 36. How much does scoring touchdowns matter?
It matters to me, but I more look at how many touchdowns versus interceptions. Like, I'll look at a guy that didn't make my list. Sam Howell had 21 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Same amount of interceptions as touchdowns. To me, Lamar
had 4 less interceptions, yes, but Jordan than Jordan Love with 7. But Jordan Love had 8 more touchdowns.
Yes, but there is an effect to me where I'm like, I trust Lamar on the ground. I trust him passing. And I don't really understand. Jordan Love to me is not in that top 5 category. You don't have him in that top 5 category. So
Again, I think it's the wide receiver core is he needs better guys around him right now. He's at that point in his career where he still needs to grow to become where he can really take over games where the wide receiver core doesn't affect him. But the fact that he was doing what he was doing, again, Lamar only threw for 3,600 yards while Jordan Love threw for 4,200, about 550 more yards from Love.
I don't think Lamar Jackson gets put in that position to throw more. Last year was kind of really where we saw it. He has struggled.
Let me put it this way, Kevin. Lamar had one more rushing touchdown than Jordan Love.
Okay. I'm still trusting Lamar Jackson because he's been in the league longer. How many rushing yards did Jordan Love have this year?
250.
Okay. I'm pulling up Lamar
821.
821. So he's putting in a lot more yardage.
But not when you combine the passing yards plus the rushing yards. That's what I'm saying.
How many passing attempts did Jordan Love have?
579.
Okay. Lamar Jackson.
What I will say is that if you go by completion percentage, the difference is only 3%. It's 67 versus 64. Both 0.2. Lamar attempted about 100 less passes, 122.
So to me, that limits the amount that does help the completion percentage because he's not throwing it as much. But that to me affects the yardage. There were less attempts to gain yardage or lose yardage.
So because the quarterback is not utilized as much, that's an advantage? Or that's a plus?
In the Lamar's case, because I believe in his talent. It's a very case-by-case basis. And I trust Lamar. I was huge on the table. I think he's a proven guy. Jordan Love proved it last year. I need to see that again. Lamar Jackson has proven that he's a capable guy. He's an elite guy. However, he's not in that unquestionable category because he has struggled in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Love and him won the same amount of playoff games.
Yeah. So that's the knock I can see on Lamar Jackson. And that's why he wasn't really in question. He wasn't even thought about in my 1 and 2. Who's your 2?
We're going to have the same 1 and 2. We don't really need to go into it too much. It's going to be Joe Burrow at 2 and Patrick Mahomes at 1.
Yeah, that's what I have. Even with the injury, I trust Joe Burrow. He's the guy that's proven it to me.
What I will say as well, like regarding playoffs, is that Lamar only has 2 playoff wins, and he only has 6 passing touchdowns in the playoffs. Jordan Love last year alone only had 5 passing touchdowns in the playoffs. So Jordan Love has 1 less passing touchdown in his playoff career.
Yes, but to me, that's been the problem with Lamar Jackson, but he has proven incredibly well. He has 2 MVPs. He's proven so well in the regular season, but the problem is he just a regular season performer that doesn't carry off into the playoffs. That's something you don't have a question with Mahomes or Burrow. They are incredible in the regular season. Just the attitude they bring to winning to me is incredible. And there was something you want to mention. I brought up Mahomes when he proved without Tyreek Hill.
Was this about Mahomes or what was this about?
I was talking about Tua. There were questions about Tua just relying on Tyreek Hill. I said Mahomes shared the same thought. Mahomes still has to deal with it with Travis Kelce. There is that thought he has never played without.
When I think of Mahomes, though, I think much more about the Andy Reid effect than I do anything else. I do think that Mahomes is clear number 1. It's not even a question at this point. He is the only one in his own tier, and that's League of Their Own. He's in a league of his own. I have Joe Burrow at the very top of franchise altering. But with Mahomes having a good offensive coordinator, which I guess it doesn't matter because basically Andy Reid is his offensive coordinator, is extremely valuable when it's the best guy ever to do it. A lot of the best offenses of all time have been a part of the Andy Reid system, and his part of that is the guys that have been in that system. But Reed has been, and he's contributed to amazing offenses before Mahomes with the Chiefs, before Mahomes with the Eagles. So I do think that has an impact. I'll go into my fell off list. There were 7 guys that fell off the list for me. Last year, I had number 17, Kenny Pickett. He's gone. Number 22, Ryan Tannehill. He's gone. Number 25, Jimmy Garoppolo. Number 28, Jacoby Brissett. Number 29, I somehow had Mike White at number 29. That shows you how weird last year was. Number 30, I had Jameis Winston. And number 31, I had Teddy Bridgewater. All those guys are now off my list. And then my top 5 biggest movers, this is up or down. I had CJ Stroud moved up 21 spots. Jordan Love moved up 15 spots. Brock Purdy moved up 11 spots. Daniel Jones fell 11 spots, and Kirk Cousins fell 9 spots. So a lot of big movers, and it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, CJ. Looking at my old list, CJ Stroud moved up a lot. Tannehill fell off. Mac Jones fell off. Jimmy G. I'm trying to look at other guys. Kenny Pickett did fall off. Trey Lance. Baker moved up. So it's, to me, I'm always going to expect a lot of movers. It's a case by case basis. It's a season by season basis, and we'll have to see what happens. But always fun. Always good discussions about quarterbacks and how we view them.
That's true. It's always interesting, but there's a lot of disagreements. We get to see who truly feels about a lot of QBs, and no one's necessarily right or wrong. It is all opinion based, and we'll have to see who gets proven more right next year.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it, and we always have next year to talk about it and take some wins, take some L's. That's all we got. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.